What's up, y'all? Do you remember the final episode of Boba Fett? Yeah. I'm betting that the Mythosaur will be in the last episode of Season 3, The Mandalorian. I've got a vision of what the Mythosaur might look like completely. All right, y'all, let's get into it. So I have a lot of thoughts on what a Mythosaur could look like in full body, since we got a glimpse of it in a previous episode of Season 3, The Mandalorian, which I am absolutely loving. It's my favorite show on television right now. And in doing my research, I found out that in real Star Wars canon, the Mythosaur was, of course, introduced in minor concept with Boba Fett. So forever and a day, we owe everything to Boba Fett for the very beginnings of this character. I love the fact that Boba Fett had the emblem on his arm, and it was all we had to go off of. But if you dig deeper, you'll find that in the comic books of 1980s, there was a depiction of the creature as a skeleton. And it was said that it was like the size of a city. Crazy, right? Now, we know from the episode of The Mandalorian, it was huge, definitely huge, when you see my owl lady next to it, but still not a city-size creature. So I wouldn't go that far. We know it's not that big, all right? But with the skeletal remains that are shown in the comic, and mind you, when an animal dies and becomes a skeleton in a fossil state, the bones are breaking down, they're losing their original form, their original place, their original, the order of things are going to change as things break down. So I'm not trying to get too scientific about this. We're just going to have fun with the whole idea, all right? But the bones kind of were sinking into the ground, but the way they were structured and the way the legs in particular, the front legs and what I could make of the back legs and the backbone structure and things like that, it had some horns coming out of the back on the vertebrae area. So I started imagining it having that. It had, to me, a lizard-like form, which makes sense because the name Mythosaur, of course, mytho is mythos, is from myth, okay? Stories, fantastic stories of symbolism, age-old stories that teach lessons. But saur is the Greek word for a reptilian or lizard. So we know it has a kinship with lizards and has reptile-like skin. We know it's got scales from what we saw in the brief moment in the previous episode of The Mandalorian. So I already want to see this thing like a monitor lizard. I'm imagining monitor lizard type vibes. So I started imagining a monitor lizard body structure with the ability to have that kind of bulldog running capability if it was on all fours, and real busty chest, heavy chest muscles, okay? But also the other animal I'm borrowing from and mixing this all together is when you look at the skull, which is most of what we had in the only representation we've had for years of the skull, is that it's elongated, and if you ask me, it totally reminds me of a horse. Yes, the skull of a horse. If you look at the skull of horses, it's a lot in common with that. A whole lot in common with horses. So I instantly started thinking of a horse-like head structure. And of course you got those two wonderful bull horns that come out the side and project forward. That's the signature thing that makes it so unique to me. And then those elongated teeth, which is another reason why I imagined it being horse-like. Because if you look at horses, first of all, they're dangerous teeth. You can tell they got a sharp razor edge, but there's like the motion of how a horse chomps when a horse eats. And I've rode horses. I've been around horses. I love horses. And, you know, they always tell you if you're going to feed a horse, you don't feed a horse with your fingers going toward his mouth because they can chop your damn finger off, you know, and wouldn't even mean it. Just be trying to get their food. You got to put it on your palm and let them eat out of your palm like this because of the way their jaws are. So I imagine the jaws and the teeth being like a horse's. And because they're so long, I imagine him having some that he could have, just like a horse, retractable lip tissue that can fold back and reveal these teeth. So for the sake of my drawing, I think I am going to show a little bit of that happening just to, you know, make the point that it has a horse-like frontal mouth, and it might show its teeth the same way a horse might do in play or in aggression to a competitor to let them know, hey man, you don't want this. I'm trying to tell you, back up. You don't want none of this, okay? And then maybe it might even have some other teeth further back in his mouth, but the ones we might notice would be up in the front, matching that skull that has become so, you know, legendary. So, this is the part I've been wanting to draw. You know, if you're an artist, you know what I'm talking about. It's the part you really want to draw. You almost got to force yourself to do the other parts because you're going to jump right into that. You just want to go straight to that and do it. Oh, man, I just want to draw that one part so bad. I want to draw it so bad. And it's the head that I'm going to focus on, you know. So anyway, I'm going to come out here. I do want it to have, like I said, I'm going to play this on horse. I'm thinking the same kind of strong jaw muscles, real big to make that head robust. And if you ever petted a horse's head, they're like, man, it's like a steel. They're like solid. It's so hard, you know. And then there were some other horns that you notice on the skeleton in the comic book depiction. So I put them around this nostril area because of how they were in the original drawing that the artist had. So we could have those in there. So it's got some nostril horns in addition to those side jaw area projections. Any animal that has horns or antlers or spines, spikes, etc., you're cool in my book. That's just instant cool points. You are the coolest animals in the world to me when you have, you got massive teeth, you got some kind of teeth, you got horns. I love it. That's my kind of stuff. So this is how I'm feeling it. And then it's got that little tiny eye that just lets you know, hey, I'm looking at you no matter how tiny the eye is. I see you. I see you. And it's got a reptile vibe to it too. So I think about how lizards look at you on the sly, like no matter where you go around them, they looking at you. Like, you know, I see you. Yeah, what's up? As long as you don't mean me no harm, I ain't gonna give you no harm. We good. But for this drawing, we're gonna make him kind of in attack mode. He's aggressively fed up with somebody in his face. Maybe too many folks delving into the living waters trying to find out about him, and he ain't want to be bothered like he looked in that episode. So those big buck teeth do kind of make it look comically goofy, but let's face it, you don't want to feel those things, so it ain't no game. No matter how silly it might look, you do not want to feel them things right there. You don't want to feel the wrath of that right there. So in this video, I probably ain't gonna have time to completely scale him out and do all the little scales, but I will show y'all a little bit of my technique of how that will start to come together. And then I'll just show y'all the finished project when I do finish playing around with this. And I might do some other drawings on the side of it too. Like, this is sketch style, so back to the body, like I say, I'm not even looking at a reference right now, but I have been looking at references before I started doing this, so it's kind of in my head of how a monitor lizard is built and all that, and that's what's my basis for the way these legs are. And I imagine them having some claws, kind of like them, but maybe a little more, slight bit more blunted because of the reference. I'm gonna play off of the horse. I'm gonna keep blending that horse element. So I'm thinking hoof meets claw. You know, hoof meets claw. Yeah. And you know, lizards have, or some lizards, should I say, not all, a lot of monitor lizards have that wrinkly skin. And it's funny because when I was a kid, and I always loved dinosaurs and stuff, so it's no surprise I love the Mythosaur. And like most kids, we fall in love, boys especially, we fall in love with dinosaurs at a young age. It's just, that's our stuff, you know. But like I say, all kids, but you know, me being a boy, it was a thing and it will always be. And so I used to not like when certain paleo artists would draw that wrinkly skin. I'd be like, oh, why you got them wrinkles? I didn't like the way it looked in illustrations. And I wondered, why do they think that dinosaurs look like that? Why would they need wrinkles like that? Why can't their skin be smooth? I thought about certain other creatures with smooth skin. And then I realized as I got older, looking at some of these living dinosaurs, it's like, oh, okay, they just looking at stuff like monitors, and it doesn't take no cool points away from the way a monitor looks. They just look cool, and it doesn't make them look weak or old or anything at any age. That's their bodies, that's what they got, and it's actually kind of cool. But aesthetically, when I was young, I used to not like that as much, and I got older, and it became more of a scientific respect for what is versus a fantasy of what you think should be there or wish was be there, or why does it look like that, or you know. So anyway, I got these spines coming out of them down the door, and I would imagine they might get bigger as they go up the back, maybe even reach a peak. And because these are aquatic and terrestrial, they say they are on land and water, you could even have some webbing between them or something, and definitely on the fingers, between the toes, which I'm not going to show the way I'll draw it on another side thing. I guess I imagine it being like, okay, if you had finger, and then one that go out to the side, you would have webbing between them, you know. That's what I imagine. And, you know, and that's an alien, so hell, it could have more toes than the average lizard if you want. Whatever, do your thing. Do your thing, lizard. Space lizard monster thing, daikaiju, because you can call him a daikaiju. That's Japanese for giant monster. Definitely a giant monster here. I'm gonna even give him some other horns. I'm gonna give him some side horns here. And that big giant massive head. Boy, you talking about somebody yelling and going crazy. When I saw that, I loved it. Every second of it. To finally see something of what this thing really looked like. I was like, they live. It's alive. It's alive. And I'm really, for anybody who's learning how to draw and is curious, I'm just basically doing a whole lot of little tiny light spirals. You see I haven't changed my pencil. I'm still doing the same pencil. It's just I'm lightening up my pressure, and I'm going in circles, looping over each other to make a scale type texture. And what I'll do as I progress, if I want to go back and make something more powerful, I'll go back in with like straight up colored pencil or a darker lead. Like this is a harder lead. The softer leads are darker. So this is a softer lead than this one, this lead holder. And I can go back in and, you know, bring some contrast to it to make things where I want them to stand out. Definitely these nostrils got to get dark and deep. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? Yeah, so another thing about this creature that I've always imagined, because of when I think about this whole making them lizard-like and like a monitor in particular, monitors can go on all fours, they can swim, so there's the aquatic and the land element, but they also can stand up. And if you ever seen pictures of one standing up on its tail and on its hind legs, it's something to see. It's amazing. And so I imagine these things being able to do that too, and kind of tripod themselves with some real big feet, and then having that neck and everything, super long neck, in this case real long neck, and that giant head. So it's like arm, hind legs, thick middle area. They always have that bulging middle body, and then the long tail. And for the tail, I imagine it having, I'm gonna do another page, lizard creatures, some of the most powerful still in existence with that tail. And so I just imagine, you know, because it's got, I know it's got horns coming out of its skin, like how gators have those ridges and plates and things, but these would be maybe, instead of so much, not so much flat, but kind of slightly bulged, literal spikes. And then it could also still have that semi-flattened oar type shape to the end of the tail for extra swim power. And then back into the body. And back into the neck. And all the way back around to the head. Big jaw on the side. Gotta have that jaw, because to me that jaw is what would house that big horn structure. That part of the horse's anatomy that makes that jaw so powerful for steady grazing. You know, and maybe they're just for the fun thought that because to me they have this horse structure. What if they are grazers, but underwater grazers? Like they may eat some stuff on land too, but they like to eat some type of seaweed or plankton or something. You know what I'm saying? And it's so hard and tough that they need those jaws to get through it. Even give them, give them some little hairs or barnacle, or maybe even, since it's underwater again, be like catfish whiskers hanging off the chin. I saw some other artist did a depiction of one and had it like with some hairs. I thought that was cool, you know. And everybody's giving it some sort of dragon type features, which I think is cool too. Because dragons can look all kind of ways and are a total mix of so many different creatures, and every depiction of them all over the world. So again, I imagine its swimming ability with some really, maybe even longer feet on the hind feet for even more paddle ability, and webbed feet Let me try to outline this for y'all to really get an idea of what I'm doing here, because when I'm sketching it, the lines might not come together for everybody's eyes the way I know what I'm looking at, but you may not know. So let me give you some more definition here. And this is just for a general outline of the body that I imagine this amazing creature having. Oh yeah, that's him. That's him. Put some nostril horns, because I really think he'd have that too. That's so funky. I like it, I like it, I like it. Do y'all like it? Let me know in the comments if y'all feeling this. And if you want to see more of me drawing and stuff, because hey, this is my first love. I was a visual artist before I was everything else I do. And yeah, just let me know if y'all loving it and you want to see more. More concept art, more draw and watch me draw. Yeah, so I imagine there being spikes all the way down the entire vertebrae, from the head to the tip of the tail. A couple of spines on the elbows, if not just one. Webbed phalanges. Give him a little more meat on these hind legs and beef up them thighs. So yeah, more or less, this is what I see the Mythosaur looking like. In a final reveal when they show the whole body, baby. Get some texture. And I imagine it having some reticulated patterns like a monitor lizard, because I wanted to have that and I love that. I'm thinking of tiger muskalunge, tiger muskie. type pattern. And also some spots like a lean cod fish mixed with a tiger muskie's wavy stripe pattern. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I love it. Let me know if y'all loving it, y'all. Let me know if y'all loving it. This is real quick sketching. I could get really detailed and be doing every little tiny scale and stuff, but I'm really just trying to whip this general idea out for y'all, for the ones who gonna feel it most and appreciate it and understand that possibilities of what we about to see. Because I know they gonna show us. They didn't give us that teaser not to show us. They gonna show us. They gonna show us. They gonna show us. And I know it's gonna blow the web away. Everybody who's a Star Wars fan gonna be talking about it for the rest of the year. It's gonna be that moment. Every comic book convention, every cosplayer is gonna have some reference to it. It's gonna be a thing, y'all. It's gonna be a thing. If anybody's looking at this saying, oh my gosh, why doesn't this guy work for Disney? They need to hire him at Star Wars. Listen to those people, you know. I'm still open to checks in many ways, so bring it on, you know what I'm saying? The actor, the writer, the producer, we can do it all. We can go right back to what it all started with. I was a drawer first, so hey, what's up? It ain't no thing. Let's go. Let's go. I'm making the light source mostly from this way. So we put the shadows more to the left side and where they would be otherwise too. I love a nice wide piece of graphite to just go ahead and blend that thing up. And yes, I still will do the smooth smudge sometimes because it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Can you say Mythosaur? Mythosaur. Hope y'all enjoyed this. This is my take on the Mythosaur. I'm Joseph R. Wheeler III, artist, founder, and president of the ONYXCON Foundation. Y'all have a good one. Started working on this to show my idea for how it would be possibly a herbivore, you know, eating aquatic kelp and stuff like that. So anyway, I had the eye here, and then I thought about the skull, and really the eye kind of sits more across from the start of the horns and the jaw muscle area. So I'm gonna bring it up here and do that thing. All right, so in doing that and staying with the shape of the eye socket and the skull, it kind of sits like this. So I'm having fun with the thought of that. It's always a thing, like you think to yourself, man, this thing really looks weird. But then the other thing is the eyes are kind of close together. So even though this is a side view, you could imagine the other pair of eyes kind of like an alligator, kind of sit close to each other and at the top of the head for that ultimate vision. Like they could just see all around each other. So you got like a mixed crocodile vibe and crocodile, alligators, really more alligators, because alligators really have that. And I know that from my recent trip to the Okefenokee Swamp. This is why I say travel is so important, y'all. I'm literally thinking about all of that and what I saw as I draw this. And that's why we need you to support ONYXCON's travel goals, because then we can do more content like this and show how it all comes together to teach. It's edutainment. Feel me? Some of y'all do, and we appreciate you because y'all give donations, y'all hit that subscribe button, you show your love. Oh yeah. And that actually, in a weird way, made it look more horse-like with my horse connection to it all. And I even gave him a dewlap because of the lizard type vibe. So you'd have like all of this area from here up would be muscle, and then you have like just below between the heavy muscles of that jaw for munching like a horse has. And really I was referencing a horse when I started this drawing, by the way. I did look at my reference to get the general shape. And then down here we're gonna have that dewlap coming in. I'll make it more pronounced. Why not? And even monitors, some species have like a hanging flap of dewlap, like most lizards have some type of dewlap. And I like that. I've always liked that. Those are so cool to me. How they can flare them up to let you know, hey man, you in my territory, back up. Back up, buddy. What you doing over here? This is me. This is my zone. All right, the magical moment. Let's put that little beady eye in there. Interesting. A little more frown tissue to set these horns in that massive skull. Yeah, we'll bring them up outright like that. Like that on the other side. The line of the split. And I want to bring it down like that. I think I do. I want to make it very gator-like. Gators have that real noticeable, especially when they're young. The bulge of the area where the eyes sit. It's like a little mountain that sits up. And then it tapers down to the rest of the head. I think I like that look for this Mythosaur. We'll blend it in as we go. Each line will take it a whole nother direction. Remember that, kiddos. If you're learning how to draw and you want to know some facts about how every line has an intent, and only the ones you bring out the most with your contrast variations will determine what most people immediately recognize as that shape or that texture or that whatever. Form. Shape, form, texture. It's all about that. Learn those three and you will always win when drawing. That's what you're emulating when you put the pen, the pencil, the whatever to paper. Shape, form, texture. That's everything. And of course, light. There's nothing without the sense of light. Which is why we have these darker shadowed areas here. And then I'm doing these circular forms just to reinforce how bulging that muscle is and how powerful and strong it's got to be to hold the weight of this skull with these two huge tusk horns coming out the jaw, side of the jaw. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make sounds when you draw. I've been doing that since I was a kid. Don't ever stop doing that. Don't let nobody tell you you weird. Weird folks win. We make billion-dollar movies and TV shows. And even though I'm not a billionaire yet, my mind state is that. So, you gotta stay where you at. Gotta live in your purpose. Gotta do what you do. ONYXCON, y'all. Joseph R. Wheeler III. Mythosaur. I'm gonna hit it with this solid black Sharpie up in this mug. Just to make sure as I go back with my other black, you know where that eye is.